Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody, and welcome to Comeback Sports. I am one of the hosts, Pat, the shot caller Flaherty, and as usual, I am joined by my partner, Brennan, the coach, Paye. Brennan, how you doing this week, my friend?
I'm actually doing really good. Forgot about Cinco de Mayo until you just said that, even though I've been kind of enjoying it all day. But yeah, happy Cinco de Mayo to our viewers. I'm waiting for the first caller to call in to talk trash about one of my opinions, but it hasn't happened yet.
I'm sure that'll be coming, and we'll make sure to remind people about the call-in number. You can leave a voicemail. You can call in live during the show, so make sure you check it out. That's the number right there at the bottom of the screen, right down at the bottom right there. Make sure you call in or leave a voicemail. We'll make sure to address that on the show, either live or next week. So make sure you check that out. Also, our Twitter handles are at the bottom of the screen as well. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. We update when our shows are going to be happening. We send the links out, a lot of good stuff out there. You can also ask us questions at our Twitter handle, and then we can maybe answer them on the show as well. So make sure you check that out. Got a lot of good stuff up on our Twitter handles. We also post stuff on Facebook at Comeback Sports, a lot of good stuff there as well. So make sure you also subscribe on our YouTube page at Comeback Sports. Anytime you do that, we'll make sure we mention it during our show as well. Now we're going to kick things off with just our only non-NFL topic, so we'll get it out of the way first, although I don't want to just get it out of the way because as a Boston Celtics fan, this was huge on Friday night. Jayson Tatum scored 60 points, ties the franchise record with Larry Bird for the most points in a game. He did it in overtime, but still, unbelievable night for Jayson Tatum on Friday, Brandon. Just awesome to see Jayson Tatum do that for the Boston Celtics.
I mean, it's one of those things where if you're a Celtics fan, you're not surprised. I guess maybe we're surprised that it took this long because he's clearly one of the best players on our team, if not the best player on our team, with Jaylen Brown as well. And we're looking for those two to really carry our team into the future. So it's really great to see this happening now in a 60-piece, and we got the W, right? We got the W there, right? So that was huge.
Yes, too.
W with the 60-piece. I mean, only other player in Celtics history, which we're talking about arguably some of the greatest players of all time, a lot of players in the top 50 and some of the best teams of all time when we're talking about the Boston Celtics. But the only other Boston Celtic player to do it is Larry Bird. And I mean, arguably the greatest Celtic of all time with Bill Russell. Those are only two. I mean, Bill Russell and Larry Bird are 1 and 1A for me. So it's to say that you're up there with Larry Bird dropping a 60-piece in a game in the NBA, which is not easy to do. It's not easy to do back then in the 80s, and it's not easy to do now in this three-point era even. So it was good, and he was doing it from everywhere on the court, dropping it from mid-range, dropping it from deep, and it was good to see. And like I said, it carried us to a win, and right now the Celtics are kind of fighting for a playoff spot, a higher playoff spot. Right now, we're in the 7th seed, but we could easily drop to the 8th seed. And if they go on a crap run, maybe even out of the playoffs, sadly. But it's really one of those things where they've got to close it out here down the stretch with these last 8 to 10 games. And with Jayson Tatum playing like this, hopefully he can continue it down the stretch here and into the playoffs and hopefully, get us a higher seed. I'd like to see this team move up to at least the 5th or 6th seed. And get to see them do a good matchup for the first round. And if they can get a good matchup in the first round, I think they can definitely move on to the second round and we can really see what this team's about. But yeah, Jayson Tatum just went off the other night, and it was just one of those nights where he's a superstar. And I think for everybody else in the NBA that hasn't known it or realized it now you do. And that was his coming out moment for them.
No question. I mean, I look at his 60-point performance, and there's 3 things that I look at that make it even more impressive on top of the point total, right? Number 1, 5 for 7 from 3. So he's shooting well above even 75% from 3, if my math is correct, and which is crazy from behind the arc. But then on top of that, he only had to shoot 7 threes. Sometimes guys, they score a ton of points, but they're taking 13, 14 threes. That's crazy, but that's how the NBA is now. He only took 7 threes, so he didn't get 2 3-point happy in this game. On top of that, he also went 15 for 17 from the free throw line, which means he's going to the basket, he's getting fouled, He's going to the free throw line. There was a few times this season, definitely last season, even in the postseason especially, Tatum got step-back jumper happy, where he would continue to just, when all else fails, do the step-back jumper, whether it's mid-range or behind three, and it was so frustrating because he's such a good player. We want him to go to the basket, right? He's 6'8", he's strong, he's athletic, go to the rim. Then on top of that, 0 turnovers in an overtime game where they won by 3. That one turnover that he could have committed could have created points the other way. So just to think about that, the efficiency behind the three-point land, the efficiency at the free throw line, and then 0 turnovers, not just that he put up 60 points, but how efficient he was from the floor really makes it a great performance by Jayson Tatum. I didn't see Larry Bird's efficiency numbers from the game he had against the Hawks. I've seen highlights galore from when he was hitting threes in front of the Hawks bench, and Hawks players were giving him high fives because he was so good that night. But Tatum was so good, all over the place in this game. They really needed it too. They were down by 32 points in this game, which is so frustrating because the Celtics team, you have Jayson Tatum, you have Jaylen Brown, you have Robert Williams, who's been in and out of the lineup because of injuries, but when he's in, he's such a difference maker. Fournier is starting to figure it out. He had a decent game the other night. He's talked about COVID, just like Tatum's talked about COVID and how it's affected them. Aaron Nesmith is starting to figure it out. He's had some nice games over the past couple of weeks. But the Celtics are I think in 7th place right now, like you said. And even if they drop a couple spots, they're still in the play-in tournament. But this just doesn't seem like a team that can make a playoff run. If they're going to do that, Tatum's going to have some big games. And Jaylen Brown's going to have some big games. And Brown banged up his ankle the other night. We'll see how he is. This just doesn't feel like the year for the Celtics, which is unfortunate. I hate to say it as a Celtics fan. But when you see games like this from Tatum, sometimes players get so hot that they can carry a team. We saw it from Dame Lillard with the Trailblazers. We've seen it from other players. So maybe that's the case this year. Maybe Tatum drags them into the second round of the playoffs. I think that's maybe the only way they get there this year, if that's the case.
I mean, hey, if you're new to the show, first off, give us a subscribe and give us a like, but also go back and watch some of the other shows. Me and Pat have both been saying this isn't a championship contending team, and it's still not. And I think they're kind of showing it here down the stretch of the regular season that they might just barely get into the playoffs. And if they do, might get past that first round, but maybe not. But I think for the future of the franchise, it's good to see having Tatum and Brown and Williams, some of these young guys that you can look for to the future for hopefully the next 5 to 10 years on the Celtics roster. And hopefully it turns into a better team next year. Let's just say that flat out. Hopefully they can get to a point where they can actually contend for a championship. But right now, when you're going up against the likes of obviously the Nets and the Lakers and the Bucks and the Blazers and the Suns, I mean, yeah, this team is not going to get it done. Yeah, not going to get it done down the stretch, and it's sad to see if you're a Celtics fan. But as far as Tatum goes and Brown, like I said, we're looking to the future for these guys to hopefully carry the franchise going forward. And I've got to say this, you talked about his efficiency, and that was very efficient, especially from the line. But I don't know, do you have his plus minus for the night? Because if you do, his plus minus has got to be like 85 or 90.
I don't know if it's that high. I don't have it right now. I can get it very quickly, though.
Yeah, because it's got to be through the roof. And that's obviously, it's not the determination on how good of a game you played, but it's one of the stats that you can use that can really determine a lot on how you've played in a game. And I guarantee you his plus minus was through the roof that night, along with his efficiency from the free throw line and from the 3-point. I think that proves a lot of how good of a game he had and dropping that 60 piece. But one of the things we always say as a coach is, hey, free throws are free for a reason. They're free. You've got to take them and hit them. So 15 of 17 is good to see from any player from the line, but especially from an elite NBA player, they have to be, like I said, just knocked down from the line. Otherwise, you can't consider yourself an elite NBA player.
Yeah, he was +6 that night, which in an overtime game when you only win by 3 and you're playing 45 minutes is really good because he was on the floor the entire night. So +3 for plus minus in a game like that where your team is down 32. I'm sure he was minus 12 at some point or something like that. So absolutely right. So to finish plus 6 when you only win by 3 means that you're having a hell of a night. So you're absolutely right, Brandon.
I'm shocked by that. Honestly, I thought his plus minus would be higher than that, but that just shows you how skewed that stat can be at times.